Happy Monday once again, everyone. What's going on? And welcome to your WWE Raw review for September 20th, 2021. WWE's really turning up the heat here head-to-head with Monday Night Football now that we are in week 2 of that. And they've been doing a lot of strange things in the past couple of weeks, including what a lot of people are considering hotshot booking. And tonight they gave us 2 pretty big matches that bookended tonight's show. One was a pre-advertised match that they announced a couple days ago, the New Day versus the Bloodline, which is a match we've all wanted for a long time. And they opened the show with that morphed into a big-time triple threat in the main event between Roman Reigns, Bobby Lashley, and Big E. So we got Roman and Lashley, Roman and this Lashley. I know Roman and Lashley have had some battles in the past, but with the two current characters that they haven't really crossed paths yet, and this was kind of a big deal. So they jam-packed Raw with a star-studded show here. I thought both matches that opened and closed the show were good. They put a lot of their big names here on the show. It is very reminiscent of the Attitude Era when everybody just worked everything in both shows, and only in WWE can this company manage to promote a draft that's coming up. I believe the first night of that is a week from this Friday. A draft coming up in less than 2 weeks, and fuel rumors of the brand split ending all at the same time. So we're going to talk about what WWE did tonight, if they are maybe overexposing Roman Reigns. Feels like he's feuding with about half a dozen guys right now. He's going to be on both shows, and this really opens up a lot of questions for the draft coming up in a couple of weeks, and that we might see a move by Roman and Heyman over to Raw, because WWE really wants to make sure they can hold these ratings up to Monday Night Football, because if they start putting together these really crappy Raws and they throw those up against a really big-time Monday Night Football matchup, there is a very good possibility that AEW could match their rating on Wednesday. You know, if WWE goes to a 1.3 or something like that and AEW stacks a card of a lifetime, you know, you could actually be looking at that. So it looks like we're going to benefit from this because WWE seems like they're not fucking around anymore with Raw. I think there's still a lot of problems, still a lot of holes. Knee-jerk, hotshot, crazy, you know, spur-of-the-moment booking is never very good, you know, for the most part, but WWE is so discombobulated. You know, at this point, can it get any worse than the shit they actually plan out? So if they're going to really stack up the card and stack up the shows with big-name guys, you know, at this point, I really don't have a problem with it because it can give us some decent shows. I do not think tonight's show was half bad. You guys can give me your grades here in the chat, 1 through 10, A, B, C, or D, but I'd give it a 6.5, 7, maybe even a 7.5, just based on the star power involved. I thought the Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss segment was really good. I was not even expecting that to be anything I was going to even pay attention to. But as soon as they grabbed my attention, I was like, oh, shit, they're saying some shit in this one. We got a good Randy Orton versus AJ Styles match tonight. There was some decent stuff on this show. So that makes me happy, and that's what we talked about on Saturday in the Winged Eagle podcast, because we know AEW has got a monumental week ahead of them here, one of their biggest in history, coming up for their Dynamite on Wednesday in Arthur Ashe, and they're going to tape Rampage that day as well, and there's going to be 2 2-hour shows coming from this big-time venue. Bryan Danielson's in-ring debut, Adam Cole's in-ring debut, lots of big stuff, Omega Danielson in the main event. These 2 cards are going to be stacked, and so WWE, with the network problems and possibly Fox and USA breathing down their necks a bit and making certain demands, Monday Night Football now being a factor in the ratings, plus you got AEW stacking up a huge card, I'm like, shit, WWE's probably going to give us a pretty decent Raw and SmackDown this week. They would be absolute fools to feed us shit. I mean, if they're too stupid to give us a good show tonight and Friday to help combat what AEW is doing, then there's no saving them. But I think they're gonna. And tonight's show was not bad. I think Friday on SmackDown will be somewhat decent as well. And we know AEW is going to kick ass with the card that they already have pre-announced, 5 or 6 matches on each show already announced. So we are going to be lucky. And I think with Monday Night Football and with a lot of this fear of the ratings problems and stuff, I think at least temporarily here, WWE might be hammering out a couple of good shows. Yes, they're just making shit up as they go, falling ass backwards into stuff and just doing whatever they can to get some names over there, but you know, honestly, it's probably not going to work any worse than anything they've already been doing. So I'm actually in support of this. I had no problem with the New Day and Bloodline match. You can't really build to that when they're on separate brands. So I don't believe, like how people were complaining with Big E, that there's a proper way to build anything. You want to do it now, do it now. Who cares? You know, you got You got plenty of opportunities as well to do rematches and shit and all that stuff. So I didn't really care. I thought that was an interesting match, although it is putting Roman Reigns on Raw. Why the hell are you even bothering with a brand split? Why are you even doing a draft when guys can just be showing up on the other show? And then you just make up some crap like the brand-to-brand invitational or whatever stupid reason you have or you make up to make it okay for a talent to go to either show. What is the point of the draft? Why are you making the draft seem like a big deal when it doesn't matter in the end? So like I said, only WWE can pull this off. Hey, we got a draft coming up in 2 weeks. Oh, and by the way, it doesn't matter which championship belt you hold. You can just go anywhere and do whatever you want. The brand split at the end of the day means nothing. But still, our draft is important. Doesn't make any sense. So I don't want necessarily the brand split to end, but I'm also all for, putting all your eggs in one basket. Fuck it. Back in the Attitude Era days, you remember some of those main events, everybody would be out there. At some matches, you would get Austin and Rock and Triple H and Undertaker and Mankind and Kane all doing run-ins in the same damn match. A lot of times the show would be going off the air with, 8 Hall of Famers beating the shit out of each other with JR screaming at the top of his lungs, what's going to happen next week or what's going to happen this Sunday at whatever pay-per-view. If they want to do stuff like that and just put everybody together at this point, I don't care because we've talked about how good WWE's talent roster is, and they've got a lot of opportunities to have big-time matchups. They teased Roman and Lashley here. I think Roman and McIntyre have got another date down the road. We got Roman and Brock coming up. Brock and Lashley could be a potential matchup if The Rock comes back in. Who knows what they could do there? You still have lots you can do, and I just hope WWE doesn't get too ahead of themselves or they don't get too confused to where they just don't know what to do, and they don't want to get to the point where Roman starts generating the same type of heat he has as a babyface where he's winning all the time. I like Roman winning. I don't want Roman to drop the title until 2046, but when you're putting him on both shows and he's winning every single time and he just beat 2 Raw guys on their own goddamn show, might want to just pump it back a little bit so Roman doesn't start getting fans that currently like his character start turning on him like they do with everybody else, and then next thing you know, Roman can't wrestle, Roman can't cut a promo, and all that other bullshit they make up in their mind to justify their hate. I'd rather not get to that point again with Roman if we could. So I think WWE needs to be a bit careful with him as to not go crazy. I want him to win all the time. I want him to win every match he has, but I don't want to see him winning multiple matches in the same week, And this is a guy that shouldn't really be wrestling on TV that much anyway. Very infrequent, I think, and he's had a couple of SmackDown and Raw matches lately now, and that might even be too much. So I don't know. I would just keep Roman special if you could, and I'm really worried and curious how they're going to manage the Brock Lesnar match in Saudi Arabia. What's going to happen there? They've telegraphed that match with Finn Balor now, the Demon facing Roman this Sunday at Extreme Rules, but Roman's got the title match against Brock, and Crown Jewel is going to get that match, which means Roman's going to leave Extreme Rules as the champion. The one good thing about that possibly is that it doesn't necessarily mean the Demon has to be defeated. We could have Brock showing up and beating the piss out of Roman Reigns to end that matchup somehow. No stipulations. Somebody in the chat mentioned it's relatively aggressive rules is what the pay-per-view is called. I agree with that completely. So far, we don't see any gnarly stipulations or anything like that. And shit, I don't even know. Do we even have a Bobby Lashley and Big E match yet set for Extreme Rules? Has that been put together? I thought that's what they were going to do. So they got to throw that together here soon unless I missed it and they announced it on Raw. I don't know. But we're going to talk about all of it, Raw in a nutshell, that sort of thing, as we go through. I will cruise over here to the chat, say hi to everybody. We will open up with some big news coming out of AEW today, some heartwarming news regarding Owen Hart and the Owen Hart Foundation. Want to get into that first because I think that's a pretty big deal. And that was a story that I woke up to today and instantly grinned. I'm like, it's going to be a great day. I couldn't be happier for this announcement. We're going to talk about that first. First of all, though, smash the thumbs up button if you are here. Make sure you tap that notifications bell to be notified when all my videos are here. And remember to be here this coming Wednesday. It's going to be a doozy. AEW Dynamite from Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York. Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega headlining a great card with Cody and Malachi Black, MJF and Brian Pillman. Britt Baker, Ruby Soho, great shit on Wednesday. I am psyched, and we're going to be up here live watching it together in a watch-along, and that's what we do every Wednesday now for this fall. We watch Dynamite together, so please tell your friends. Make sure you're here. I'll throw a link up to Wednesday's stream probably tonight or tomorrow so you can save it and get ready because I am ready for Wednesday. So just want to let you guys know about that. First, hello to Tatanani's back, Sam, Zane, Ryan, J. Lambo, Cerebrus Corpse 97. We've got Sex Machine makes two of us. Ben is back, Charlie, Nathan, Chris, Michael, Big J. Population, what's up, man? Good to see you as well. Daniel Mendiola is back. Martin Can with a super chat drop. Thank you, man. Hey, Greg, hope you're well. I'm going to WWE here in the UK tomorrow. Can't wait. By the way, not a single match at Extreme Rules has Extreme Rules. That's right. And I don't know, why are they even calling it Extreme Rules? Why can't they just name it something else or call it Unforgiven like we watched last night right here on the channel, Unforgiven 2001. Thank you, everybody that was here. And Raw tonight, I didn't realize this until the very end of the show. Raw tonight was in Raleigh. I've been to that building many times. That's where I attended SummerSlam 2000 way back in the day. Antoine, what's up, dude? Thanks for the $5 with the Cowboys playing next Monday. They are pulling a 1.2. I didn't know that. Cowboys are on next week. I don't even know who they're playing. I got Dak on my Prescott on my fantasy team. What's up, Nick Musser? Glad you're off work. Glad you're here, man. Glad you are here. All right, that gets some of the pleasantries out of the way. Jason Isaac, Transferring Heat, Victor Cologne. I think I got everybody, for the most part, that's in here hanging out. We'll start getting into everything. But before we get into Raw, we got a lot to discuss and chew on in terms of Monday Night Raw. But I want to talk about some wrestling news that was reported today, some really good news and some heartwarming news out of AEW. They released a statement earlier on today announcing a collaboration with the Owen Hart Foundation, and they have come to an agreement with them and Martha Hart to basically hold a Owen Hart tournament and produce some Owen Hart merchandise, allow Owen Hart to be, a character in some video games and various other projects. And a lot of these proceeds are going to go to benefit the foundation. And this is just hugely wonderful news. I am so happy about this. I'm not going to read you the whole article. You can check this out over on AEW's Twitter page or website. But their one paragraph press release that they sent out today, I just want to read because it basically gives you an overview of this. And here I quote, All Elite Wrestling and the Owen Hart Foundation, a nonprofit charity which provides a vast range of assistance and opportunities to individuals in need across the world, are collaborating to honor the legacy of late wrestler Owen Hart, a beloved figure in the professional wrestling community and beyond. This collaboration includes launching the annual Owen Hart Cup tournament within AEW, which will see the winner receive a cup known as the Owen. I love that. As well as the production and distribution of unique and original Owen Hart merchandise, including specified retail goods, as well as upcoming AEW console video game. Is the upcoming AEW console video game. You can read the entire article. There's more details there, but basically this is Owen Hart finally being able to enter back into the professional wrestling world via the foundation and via Martha Hart. You know, Martha Hart, as I've discussed at length, we've talked about Owen Hart and his death and the circumstances 100 times on this channel, and I think the last time I really went into detail on it was the 20th anniversary of his death about 2 years ago when I did a little 30-minute podcast, and I've always been a very staunch defender of Martha Hart. You know, you cannot put yourself in her shoes. You cannot speak for her. You cannot say what she should do or anything like that. When you're in the position that she was, building your own house, packing up your boxes, about to move into this brand new house, and you get a phone call that your husband has just been killed because his rigging and his blue blazer costume failed. And, you know, how do you think, of course she's going to have and harbor a lot of blame and resentment towards WWE. Would you be able to go back and work for someone like that killed your spouse? She is well within her rights to never get over that. She is well within her rights to never want anything to do with WWE ever, or Vince McMahon, or that entire company. And she can stay as sour as that as she goddamn well pleases. You are not in that situation. She is. She lost her husband. Her kids lost a father. And I always wished that Owen Hart would go into the Hall of Fame. I wish the WWE could celebrate him more, but she's not willing to allow that to happen. And I don't blame her one single bit. I'm willing to sacrifice my fan love for Owen to allow his family to grieve the way they choose to grieve. So with this deal being done, I just think it's fantastic because, Martha doesn't have any sort of ill feelings towards AEW, and I'm sure they will do a spectacular job honoring him, because one thing I think AEW does better than WWE is they utilize their legends the best. WWE either has legends winning the fucking title or just coming out there, parading them out there to cut a meaningless promo. AEW uses these managers or these legends as managers or as ways to boost younger talent or to give them a rub or to rub off some of that experience that they have onto them, and it's benefited a lot of people on the roster. So, there is more than enough room for Owen to be honored here in an annual Owen Hart Cup. Oh my God, that's great. Because when you think about it, WWE does the Dusty Cup, but Cody and Cody is an executive in AEW and Dustin is there. You would think that they would want to do a Dusty Cup in AEW, but WWE's got the name to that. So AEW is going to do an Owen Cup and honor Owen, and this is the first time anything is really, really like that has been done. Now, I didn't notice any specifications on when this tournament might happen, if this is going to begin next year or if they're going to try to do this before year's end. I kind of hope that it doesn't start until next year for one specific reason. There's already one guy that I already know I want to win the inaugural cup. He currently shares Owen's name, but when he wins the cup, he won't. Kevin Steen. He loves Owen Hart. That's how he came up with his last name to use in WWE, Owens. He named his kid Owen after Owen Hart. I have a friend who did the same thing, my buddy Daniel, who was in the same room with me. We watched Owen Hart die together, did the same thing and named his son Owen. And Owen was important to a lot of wrestling fans. So I'm kind of hoping that they hold off on the tournament. It doesn't start until March of next year, maybe around WrestleMania time. Kevin Steen comes in. He's the first guy to win it. And I don't know if it's going to be a cup that you get a new cup every year or if it's going to be like a Stanley Cup where they put the names on it. I wouldn't mind that. I wouldn't mind having the names on it because I don't want it to turn into a prop. I don't want it to be, carried around like WWE does with the stupid Andre the Giant trophy or anything like that. It would be kind of cool if you got two of them because Owen's always had the two Slammies, and the first guy to win two Owen Cups is probably going to want a picture like that. So maybe they'll do multiple cups. All those details can be hammered out later. The bottom line is here, this is going to be an annual thing in AEW, and I can guarantee you it's going to be one of the things I'm going to look forward to the most every year is the Owen Hart Cup. That's going to be fun. I'm so happy about this, and best news of the day. I mean, this has been a great 2021 in terms of what's happening and exciting things happening in wrestling with all these defections and debuts and AEW really getting on the map, fans returning to the arenas, great WrestleMania, great SummerSlam, great All Out. It's been a good year in terms of excitement in wrestling. And this might top my list, in terms of something that just really, really, really makes me happy. Now, among all of that positivity and that happiness and that heartwarming feeling you get from news like this, there's also the dark side of that. And then you have a select few, even though it's probably in the 0.001%, but multiple people spoke out on this on Twitter today, including myself, calling out a few people who actually had the nerve to have a problem with Martha Hart choosing to partner with AEW over WWE. One specific tweet was being tossed around, screenshotted, and talked about, and it was some dipshit basically saying that Vince McMahon should sue AEW for everything they have because they are using Owen, basically as if WWE owns Owen Hart's name, and Owen Hart was a WWE guy, and AEW's capitalizing on that. You have people that think that there's some sort of selfish, ulterior motive here with AEW when this is a charitable. Number one, this is going to please a lot of people. Number one, the fans who all loved Owen, and also it's going to benefit his foundation that was set up in his name. We have donated to that foundation on this channel before, to insist that something like this, that's just so innocent and pure, is negative, just absolutely blows my mind. What kind of a sick, disgusting soup that some people swim in out there in the wrestling world. It blows my mind. This insists, they're just doing it for this or this, they're just doing it for that. I mean, AEW has respect for the legends. They prove that each and every week with all of the people they currently have employed there. Bret Hart was the first person to really physically touch the AEW title. I think Bret Hart should be there to present the cup to the winner, although I don't know the relationship with Martha and Bret. I don't know if Martha would be okay with that or how much say in anything Martha even has, or what the relationship is these days with Bret and her, or her and some of the other members of the family. I don't really know, but having that tournament every year is just going to be something really awesome. New Japan's got the G1, and WWE used to have King of the Ring. To have the Owen Hart Cup is pretty damn awesome. I just think that's so fucking great. So to the fans that actually had the nerve to complain about this or have a problem with this or to throw shade at Martha Hart for betraying WWE, do you hear yourself? Do you hear yourself? The company that was held liable for Owen Hart's death. There are a million things that could have been done that day to keep Owen alive. Was it an accident? Yes. Could it have been prevented? Also, yes. WWE should feel like shit. Vince should feel like shit till the day he dies for what happened to Owen. And to judge Martha Hart, why don't you find somebody that you love and strap them up to the fucking ceiling of an arena and drop them? And then do business with the person that cut the cord. You going to do that? No, you're not. And to actually view this as anything other than just awesome is pretty goddamn sad. So those fans that, I know there's not a ton of them, nobody that would ever watch this channel would ever say anything fucking stupid like that, but there are people that actually have a problem with this, because you got to remember we're in the middle of a tribal wrestling war right now. So anything AEW does, the anti-AEW people are going to have an excuse why it sucks or it's shitty or it's, there's some conspiracy, there's some bigger, greater, motivation for these things or whatnot. And WWE people are probably singing some pretty happy tunes right now as well. I don't think there's a place for any of that when it comes to this. When it comes to something that's going to honor Owen and benefit his foundation. And a lot of this language and a lot of this bullshit that came from these fans, you got to remember Owen's been dead for 22 years. These fans that say stuff like this aren't old enough to remember who he even was. They aren't even qualified to speak his name. They should not. Whoa, I'm almost dropping stuff. They should not even be qualified to speak his name, much less make assumptions like this. Or say that this is a wrong decision for Martha or the family or the foundation or anything like that. I think these people are too young, too immature to really even know who Owen Hart was and should shut their damn mouth. And it's pretty embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. I mean, if wrestling fans don't embarrass themselves enough and give us a bad name enough as it is on social media, you got to see something like this. So fans need to grow up. This is a great thing. And for Owen to be able to come back into wrestling in some way is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I am so happy that they are not going to partner up with WWE and how dirty and fucking disgusting they are with certain things. This just feels much better. I can breathe easier when I know that it's something like this. And I think it's a really great way just to honor Owen with an annual cup. That's awesome. It is a way for his name to live on now, because honestly, I don't think we're going to get that in the WWE Hall of Fame. So at least we have an Owen Hart Cup and we get to remember him at least once a year publicly as a wrestling community. That's nothing but good. And if you think otherwise, unsubscribe from this channel. You're not welcome here. But anyway, that was the happy news of the day. I can't wait till that kicks off next year. And think about the people who can win this. Think about the people who can be in the finals. We get Kevin Steen and Chris Jericho in the finals of the first ever Owen Cup. Holy shit. Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson should definitely win the Owen Cup. Or maybe the Owen Cup is going to be used to maybe elevate somebody. And that's going to be generally used to give somebody the little nudge or push that they need, maybe like how the King of the Ring used to be for WWE back in the day. We don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I'm excited. During Raw tonight, we had a statement released from Ric Flair on Twitter. He has finally responded to some of the blowback he's been getting from the Dark Side of the Ring episode, and I'll read it here for you. He actually tweeted a statement. It's, a notepad statement or whatnot. And then he deleted it almost immediately and released a, I guess, edited version where he kind of just cut out the first paragraph where he said his lawyer had said not to say anything, but he's going to talk about it anyway. He changed that first paragraph. or that first sentence. So this was the second one that he released. I quote, "Every person that I've worked with has said not to post a response, but I've never run from past behaviors before, and I'm not going to start now." It's interesting how he's not, all of a sudden, he's not using all capitals to start each word. He goes on to say, "About 4 years ago, I gave ESPN full access to my life for a 30 for 30 special. They covered taxes, financial issues, adultery, divorces, the passing of my child, and drinking, partying at length." Rory Kempf, a desperate to matter for another 15 minutes. I don't know who Rory Kempf is. Ric Flair does not like him. Desperate to matter for another 15 minutes. Did an interview about this morning. When Rory's lips are moving, he's typically lying, but one part of what he said was the God's honest truth. "I've never," and this is a quote of Rory, "I've never heard that he had forced someone to touch his genitals. Everything with Rick that was construed as negative, I tried to address in the 30 for 30, his drinking, his philandering, his adultery, his money problems. There's quite a bit, but never, at least to the people that I spoke to, no one ever brought up that he would force himself on somebody." Goes on to say, "I allowed my personal life and the lives of my wife and children to be turned upside down for one reason. Whether it's good or bad, even the really bad, the truth has to matter, even in wrestling. My issues have been well documented over my 40-plus year career. The impact of drinking too much, which nearly killed me 5 years ago, has been told time and time again. The reason Rory, or anyone else for that matter, had never heard these stories of me forcing myself on anyone is simple. It never happened." So that is a very bizarre response to what's been going on after the plane ride from hell. The report that his Car Shield commercials were suspended, however, they ran one tonight on Raw, but it seems like he's responding to the plane ride from hell episode by singling out this Rory guy who had a hand in the production of the 30 for 30, who did a interview today and went on to say, "I've never heard of Ric Flair forcing himself," so Ric Flair wanted to draw attention to that. See, even this guy that doesn't like me says that I would never do that. Heidi herself even said that she didn't feel like Rick was going to rape her or anything, but the fact that he had his dick out and twirling it around in people's faces still happened. He doesn't really deny that here. I don't even know what he's really trying to say in this apology. But he's probably not a very happy camper right now, and he's got a ton of support from fans. He's got a lot of fans saying, "Yeah, you probably shouldn't have said anything at all." I don't know what to make of it. These are stories that I'm surprised have never bitten Ric Flair in his ass before, because they have been told, but most of the time these stories are told in a ribbing way, or listen how crazy Ric Flair is type of way, and a lot of people smile and laugh. Oh, that's just the way Ric Flair is. But to hear it from another perspective, from somebody on the other side of this that has to deal, with this drunken naked legend, it gives you a totally different perspective on it, to where, the stories that we've heard in the past always kind of make us chuckle and laugh and, oh my God, what a crazy business. But you kind of forget there are people that, are victims here in terms of what they had to endure, what they had to experience and see from them and whatnot. And Rick didn't really address any of that. So, yeah, who would have thought, 40, 30, 20 years after you've been helicopter penising flight attendants, that would pose a problem here in 2021, but it has. Very strange statement, very strange apology, I suppose, from Ric Flair, and I have not really read many of the replies, but I can't imagine, based on reading that, they're very good. Tommy Dreamer, same type of thing, apologized, felt bad, but they always have to throw that little thing in there. He's like, "I'm sorry if I apologize to anyone I offended," and not like, this is just flat out wrong. He's only apologizing to the people he offended. The people he didn't offend, no problem, I guess. So I don't know. They're always kind of flimsy. And this is what the case, it's not Rick's, or it's not just singling Rick or Tommy Dreamer out. It seems like anytime anything like this happens, the apologies usually are not very well received. I've seen a couple good ones, but sometimes, when you issue an apology, it's like, ooh, I would like to see a few more where people just own up to it, and at least that, and not try to, make excuses or rationalize it or whatever. But we'll see. We'll see how all that shakes out with Ric Flair. Like I said, they aired a Car Shield commercial tonight during Raw. So many people saw it. They were tweeting it all over the place. I don't even know if I personally saw it here. I just saw screen caps all over Twitter. So that ad campaign that was supposed to be suspended, at least, is not yet, from what we can tell. And we'll see where all the Ric Flair stuff goes. But that kind of covers what I wanted to get into before we started talking about the Raw results. We can do that now. So before we do, smash the thumbs up button for me. I'm going to cruise over here, make sure there's nothing else to worry about in the chat. We're all good. Yeah, if you want to learn about Owen and watch his matches, I'm all for it, man. But when fans try to say what Owen would want and shit like that, I'm like, don't even, just keep it out of your mouth. You're not allowed. You're not allowed to make those type of statements or speculations at all. I just don't like it. I was just a huge Owen Hart fan. You guys know that. It's well documented on this channel. I don't think I've ever shut the fuck up about it, how important the Hart family was to me. So Owen Hart's death hit me different than any other death. I mean, it really did. And we've had some pretty awful ones, but Owen was, up there with the one that, I think I carry around with me to this day. So this is the type of news for a fan like me makes me very happy. So yeah, I'm kind of hard not to be Team AEW right now. You know what I mean? Anyway, let's get into Raw tonight. Raw was not that bad of a show. They had already pre-advertised a big 6-man match between the New Day and the Bloodline, obviously trying their best to combat the ratings decrease that they're likely to see now that football has resumed and Monday Night Football is off and running here for week 2. So as we've been mentioning in the last couple of shows, I'm really all for this because what they were doing before, trying to plan shit out, was just, was very much, was getting very redundant and a lot of rinse and repeat and a lot of just copy and paste stuff. And if they want to just get nuts and just wing it, at this point, it can't get any worse. Luckily for them, they've got a roster full of really good talent that where if they just throw them out there in a situation, they can usually come through. So we had a big tag match. A lot of people thought they should save this for a pay-per-view or whatnot. I don't care, man. I'm all about getting good pay-per-view matches on TV. It's just pay-per-view quality matches, I should say, on TV. It's just about the way they go about doing it that is a little bit frustrating. Now, even though I just said I'm all for WWE doing whatever I wish it didn't have to be that way. I wish they had a little bit more organization. And I think fans should also, I think it's important to understand, because I see one thing that's probably worse in professional wrestling on social media than any other form of media or entertainment is the false equivalencies, the false comparisons. And I see a lot of this, the fans are going to shit on WWE for giving New Day versus Bloodline, but they're not mad at AEW for rushing Danielson and Omega or anything like that. I'm like, these are not the same things. First of all, I don't think Danielson and Omega is really that rushed. I think AEW internally had this match pegged for Arthur Ashe for quite some time. That show's been announced for over 3 months. They've known that they're going to stack a big card for a big venue, likely going to be a sold-out house. Their biggest Dynamite to date, the only other show they've done that's going to have probably that much buzz or more is when CM Punk debuted just a few weeks ago. This is a huge show in a big market that's going to look great, feel great. They have to stack this show up. And they have laid out 2 amazing cards for Dynamite and Rampage. They are organized. They've got their shit together. I don't believe they necessarily rushed Omega and Danielson. I think they want to give the fans this one now. And to have it be, I believe it's a non-title affair, right? Danielson and Omega get to have this match, and they can maybe circle back to it down the road for a title or some other situation. But we're going to get it now because, they should do it while they have the chance. And we're going to see probably some returns and a lot of excitement there, and I don't think anything there is being rushed. Save Danielson Omega for pay-per-view. Well, there's a lot of shit that Omega's got to do right now, plus they don't have a pay-per-view every month. I like the fact that they stack up big Dynamite cards and give us big pay-per-view quality matches. So even though the match between Danielson and Omega has only been announced for, a week or so, maybe 2, I think internally AEW has known this for a lot longer than that. And from the day that Arthur Ashe show was announced, you knew we were going to get pay-per-view quality matches. And they've announced a bunch. And there's a big difference between a company planning to give pay-per-view quality stuff in a big venue, big market, huge show, one of their biggest in history, and another company saying, fuck it, let's just do this. There is a big difference between those two philosophies, and that's what's happening. These are not the same thing at all. Yes, AEW is trying to throw good matches at us to get a good rating. Of course they are. But they've got their shit a little bit more together from a creative sense in terms of what they want to do. Things are moving very fast, but luckily they don't have a pay-per-view to worry about every month. They can slow down and take their time a bit. And I just hope that not too much is happening too quickly to where it kind of overwhelms them. But right now, I think they're managing everything just fine. And this show on Wednesday is stacking up to be a pretty damn good show. And I think they've got ideas. They've been building a couple of these matches, even the Pillman and MJF issue, which is a very short little program here, but has done a great job of telling its story as well. We're going to get good in-ring action. Going to get some good stories told. On Friday, Adam Cole gets in the ring in AEW for the first time, teaming up with the Young Bucks. To me, this is it just feels a little bit better than what WWE is doing, because I honestly think they're just like, fuck it, let's just do this. There's no fuck it going on in AEW. They're actually thinking this shit through a little bit, and you can tell because the quality of the shows are very much different, or a lot different. So in terms of WWE giving us big matches, great, I'm all for that. But I can kind of see through it. You kind of understand that this is, I don't want to say panic, but they're very nervous and weary of what these ratings are doing, not only with football, but with AEW drawing comparable numbers. They did a 1.6 last week, and Dynamite did a 1.1. You ain't that far off here, guys. And now if you have, Monday Night Football here and everything, and WWE's been giving us shitty Raws for the better part of half a decade, I think that that's all going to add up to some pretty crappy shows. So WWE now is scrambling and say, okay, no more nonsense. No more bullshit, repeat rematches, same formulaic nonsense. We at least can't do that right now. We got to step up our game just a little bit because we're losing in demos to these guys. We got football over here. Fans are pissed at us. We're on the ropes. We got to fucking bounce back. And I think they will. And tonight, they did a pretty good job of that. Like I said, even though a lot of this shit was probably just decided on the fly. So we'll see how it goes next week. I'm very curious to see what kind of rating they pull in tonight, because last week's rating was a bit of a disappointment with Big E, and I think them only pulling in like a 1.6, which I think they were hoping would be more than that. So we'll see if Big E's victory last week and the advertisement of Roman Reigns being on the show this week does anything to the ratings, and if it does, it's going to be very telling to what kind of decisions they might be making for the WWE draft. If Roman and his presence on the show tonight is able to boost last week's 1 point close to a 2 million when they're going ahead. But I think they're looking closely at the ratings in the next couple of weeks here to really figure out how to properly balance these shows and what to do to give Raw some buzz, viewership up as high as possible with football going head to head. Should move where you think certain guys should go or where guys would be better off. And, you have to wonder about USA and Fox. I have to read. I know Sean Ross Sapp was dropping a Fightful Select article today. Am I live? Am I good? Just looking, my screen froze over here. I might have lost internet. All right, I'm getting no data over here. All right. All right. I can't tell if I'm even up or not. I don't know. I think we might be up and running here. But it's telling me no. Are we up? I can't tell if we're up. Okay, it just says stream status poor. How do I get it to have good stream status? I don't know. Well, I'm sorry, guys, for this delay. If you can even hear me mumbling to myself here, I don't know. Okay. I feel like I'm up. All right, I'm going to continue talking. So I can hear my voice. Let me go over here. Status poor. How do I get it to have good stream status? I don't know. Okay. Well, I'm sorry, guys. I think we're okay. All right, we're going to continue here because basically my streaming connection just says poor, and it lost it a couple of times. But I have internet. There's nothing wrong with the internet. It says it's up and running. And I have really good internet, so I guess I just have some sort of a crazy poor connection. We'll see. But we are up and running. All right. Sorry about this, guys. I think I'm going to continue now. Yeah, all right. We're good. We lost our audience, but no well. Live is working for you. Okay, now we're back. Okay, we're back over here. I've got excellent connection on my end. Everything is good. I apologize for that. I don't even know if I went away for a little while there. I'll have to watch the replay back. But I guess my connection just went from excellent to off and then to poor. And then now it's back to excellent, so I am sorry about all of that. I don't even recall what the hell I was talking about when all of that happened. I think I was basically just talking about WWE and the draft and what they could possibly do with certain wrestlers, jumping ship, and what USA might want compared to Fox and the ratings and comparing it to the NFL and that sort of thing. I think that's where we kind of left off. So we'll try to pick that up here. Sorry, every now and then we have technical difficulties. It is very rare on the channel, but this one was kind of out of my hands. It was just an internet connection thing. I paid a big bucks over here for good internet, so whenever it doesn't work, it pisses me off. But we are back up now, and I'm sorry about that. We need to start getting into actual Raw results because I've been basically just giving opinions this whole time. Let's get into that stuff. Now, like we said, they had the big six-man match advertised over the weekend, the New Day versus the Bloodline. I was looking forward to this match regardless of what the reasonings were for WWE booking it. Doesn't matter to me. It's booked. I want to see it. And they actually opened the show with this. So it got a little bit predictable because you knew they were going to run something back in the main event because I thought this match would be the main event. And with a very angry Bobby Lashley running around, I had a feeling we were probably going to see him in this match. So before the match starts, though, we get Big E opening the show with the New Day, does his whole routine on the mic and announced himself as the new WWE champion. And this is what I thought we would have been nice to get on SmackDown. I thought he might come out and open the show like this and give a nice farewell to SmackDown. Hey, I don't know if you guys saw that show on Monday, but I took that briefcase and won this title, so I got to be over there now. Just want to tell you I love you. It's been great. I'm your new champion. Peace out. I'll see you. Roman could come out. They could have a little brawl or something, and that would be it. We didn't get any of that. So we finally got Big E's, really his kind of his celebration promo. We got that here tonight on Raw. So he comes out with his boys. Very awesome to see the New Day back together. I'm glad that I hope that they don't split them up again in the draft. Keep them together. I just like them together. So Big E comes out with them. All the love from the fans. He gets the "You deserve it" chants. He thanks the fans. Very, very touching little tribute to Brody Lee, where he thanked everybody here, and then he thanked one special friend above and kind of looked up. That was awesome, and that was just really nice to see. So he says his words, thanks the fans, even says that he forgives the fans that chanted "New Day sucks" back in the day when New Day was struggling to kind of find their footing when they first, I remember doing shows about it, podcasts about it. I'm like, I don't know what it is about the New Day. I like all these guys individually, but they're not connecting. Something's missing. I think it's safe to say they found what that something was, and they've had an incredible run. So Big E gets to have his moment. Fans are loving him. The Bloodline comes out, Roman and the Usos. They say a few words. We go to a commercial, and we are off with the 6-man to open the show. So basically, in my mind, what I was thinking is that we were going to see Bobby Lashley interfere in this match, and then they would restart it or rebook it for later on in the show. That's what I thought we were going to see. So the match starts. It's actually a pretty good one. And I think we get one commercial break, and yeah, I think just one. And of course, the New Day and the Usos have had wars in the past before with each other. They go way back. And having Lashley and Big E, that's kind of like a new feud. Or Roman and Big E, that's kind of like a new little tiny tease of a future match here. But of course, Big E is now on Raw. And then we knew Lashley was going to make his presence known. And there was just going to be a lot of factors at play here. So I was ready to see that run in. I'm watching the entire match, do the commercial break, everything. I'm like, when's Lashley coming? When's Lashley coming? I thought he would come in, attack Big E. The match would be a schmoz. Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville would just say, okay, we'll do it again in the main event, and then something will happen there. So I was close. What wound up happening is we get Roman, by the way, I should mention, during the match, absolutely destroys Kofi Kingston. He kills him on the outside of the ring, posts him, chucks him over the table. That's when we go to commercial. We come back. We've got the big hot tag to Big E, face off with Roman. They're battling it. The crowd loves it. Just to see these two guys face-to-face was very exciting for the crowd. I was happy with the crowd's response. I was happy with the crowd's appreciation for these two, big stars battling it out. They were into it. It reminded me a lot of last week with Lashley and Omos, how they were really, really into the showdown between the two. So we finally get those two in the ring together. They face off and battle. That's when we get Lashley showing up. Big E finds himself on the outside of the ring after the battle with Roman Reigns. Lashley nails Big E with a spear. That leaves the legal man, poor Xavier Woods, in the ring all by himself. He eats a spear from Roman Reigns for the win, and the Bloodline defeats the New Day. Now, after the match, Roman Reigns hops back in the ring and hits Bobby Lashley with a spear, who was out there working over Big E. And then Roman continues the attack on Big E, spearing him through a barricade, and he is a very, very pissed off individual. So Lashley is not messing around. I'm sorry, did I say Roman spears Lashley? I meant Lashley spears Roman and then goes around and spears Big E. So basically, Lashley is a very angry, vicious, strong, dangerous heel who got robbed out of his title last week. He's pissed and he wants blood. So I liked all of that. This gave, of course, the Bloodline the win when Xavier Woods got beat. However, a lot of fans were pointing out, with Lashley's interference, him attacking Big E, why was this not a disqualification? The referee saw everything going on. And I think the reason for that is WWE. That's why. They are never consistent with the rules, and I guess maybe one could argue that Big E was the one that was attacked and he wasn't the legal man. I believe Xavier Woods is, because he was the one pinned. But still, if somebody comes out there and attacks somebody in a match, then they should be disqualified. So anyway, the Bloodline got the win there. Lashley then goes backstage and starts making demands to Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. He wants Big E. He wants his championship back. He feels like he was robbed, and they would be making a big match just a little bit later on. They then cut to Randy Orton chilling, sitting there with his headphones on. Riddle approaches him and says that he's synced up their Spotifys and he's been making playlists so they can all jam out, so they can both jam out to the same shit. And he said it's very important that they do that because if they get split up in the draft, he wants to make sure that they can listen to the same great music. He rambles on about going on a safari. I don't know if he was basically running down the plot of Jurassic Park or whatever he was talking about, but Orton says to him, and he goes, "Are you confusing a movie you saw with real life again?" And Riddle's like, "No, for real, bro, this is it," or whatever. And he basically allows Riddle to say his piece and even says, "Look, I'll tell you what, you can go out there and be at ringside during my match with AJ Styles to help keep Omos in check." So the champions, at least for right now, are still on the same page, and Riddle with his normal, regular rambling is always a trip, and we'd be seeing those guys later on. We get Eva Marie and Doudrop best of 73 series going on here. I have a feeling we're going to see this for the next couple of weeks, so go ahead and jot that down in my Raw notes through mid-October. And Eva cuts a promo shitting on Doudrop before the match. Of course, she already got beat by Doudrop last week. Doudrop comes out, has a little match with Eva Marie. It doesn't last long. Eva attempts to run away from Doudrop, tiring her out, kind of like a rope-a-dope way. And Corey Graves actually utters this sentence, I quote, "Eva Marie is WWE's Muhammad Ali." Corey Graves, ladies and gentlemen, said that out loud out of his mouth on a microphone on cable television tonight. Actually said that. In the end, Doudrop catches Eva, fucks her up, splashes her, pins her. Doudrop wins as she should. Piper Niven is 10 million times more talented and capable than Eva Marie, and I am glad that match went the way it did. Hopefully when they have their umpteenth rematch, they won't start giving Eva Marie victories here, but I have a feeling she's got a victory coming to her at some point, because as of right now, she ain't nothing more than a jobber. She loses every week, which is fine with me, but that does have to end at some point, so keep a lookout for that. Backstage, we get Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. I think Paul Heyman is with them, and they're a little bit freaked out. They don't know what to do. They got a lot of shit happening. Basically, the end of this segment confirms the big triple threat match for the main event, Big E versus Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley. Big E wants blood. Lashley wants blood. Everybody's been approaching Sonya and Adam and making demands. Finally, they do, and that's a huge triple threat. Now, some fans are like, holy shit, they're hot-shotting, giving us Roman and Lashley a little bit early. But are they, though? It's just a triple threat. Is it really that big of a deal? Back in the Attitude Era, it didn't matter. There was no keeping dudes separated. By this philosophy, it's a good thing these fans on Twitter weren't around back in the day, because they'd be very angry if all the Stone Cold Steve Austin and Rock matches were getting on Raw. These guys were wrestling on Raw, in tag team matches on Raw, against each other as partners. Like I said earlier, all of the big talent always intermingled. You never had two guys on the roster really until you did the brand split, and you would have like the Goldbergs and the Brocks, that sort of thing. You might have a couple of big-time dream matches set ready for you because you have two brands now. But back in the day, when you had all of these big major stars, there was no holding off in getting that match. A lot of these matches, a lot of the main events at WrestleMania were matches that have happened before. Even when Shawn Michaels faced Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania 14, they had already had 3 or 4 TV matches prior to then. And same thing with Rock and Austin. I mean, they date back really far, when Rock was just coming in and the Intercontinental title stuff, and then into main event status there. But even prior to their, WrestleMania 15 match, in the main event, I was at that show in Philly. They had worked a lot on TV, and it just wasn't like that. So, there's something to be said for that. It does kind of rob you a little bit of, big time collision course matches where you have two guys just on a trajectory and they just collide in the middle. You didn't have a whole lot of that, but that's the way it kind of was back then. It was a lot of big stars in matches together at the same time. You guys remember how it was. How many big time tag team matches? I remember one time we got the fucking NWO against The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin. We got Hogan, Hall, and Nash, I believe, against Rock and Austin. We've had Triple H and Austin or Triple H and Rock versus Kane and Undertaker. We've had some crazy combinations and stuff. So it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. The fact that we have all these guys in the ring together. I heard a few rumors that Brock Lesnar might be in the arena. So I was like, shit, in the main event, bring out Brock, bring out the Demon. Let's just get everybody out there. And the show fades to black with Jim Ross going, or like it would fade to black back in the day with Jim Ross going nuts. So I was ready for anything tonight when it came to that main event. And like I said earlier, this is what WWE is going to have to do to combat these football ratings and stuff. So anyway, we'll be getting to that match later on. After that, we get another match between Randy Orton and AJ Styles. I don't care. Unlike Eva Marie and Doudrop, put Randy Orton and AJ Styles in the ring together every week. I don't care. These guys are awesome. They'll always have great matches together. They did here. Omos and Riddle are backing up their teammates. Omos gets involved early. Referee gets pissed, tosses him out. AJ Styles during the match hits a beautiful looking lion salt, which was really good. I don't know if I've ever seen him do that move before, or if he just decided spur of the moment to do it, and he nailed it perfectly. Pretty good spot and finish in the end. AJ is going for the phenomenal forearm. And as he jumps up, Randy Orton goes to counter with the RKO, but they both have the same idea. AJ stops, Randy Orton stops, and they kind of like point at each other. That was really good. But in the end, we get Randy Orton actually getting AJ right in the middle of the ring and hitting him with a perfectly clean looking RKO for the win. Very good stuff there. Basically a clean win for him, although Riddle and Omos were out there doing shit. AJ ate an RKO and got pinned. And the champs celebrated in the ring together. It was pretty awesome and a good little match between two fucking Hall of Famers. Here's a match that I expected to suck, and it was so much better. Shayna Baszler versus Nia Jax. Now, we knew we were going to get this match because last week it appeared that they have officially, finally, after all this time, split up. Nia Jax screwed over Shayna in her title match. Shayna did the same thing to Nia Jax. Now it's time for the actual match itself. And in my head, I was 100% convinced that Nia Jax would beat Shayna Baszler here. I was like, their feud's going to continue. They'll probably have a couple of matches together, but knowing WWE and their booking and the fact that they seem to have never taken Shayna Baszler seriously after she initially got in and had that WrestleMania match in the Performance Center with Becky, after that, it's been just a steep decline for her to the point where I've been worried that she's going to get released. That's how nervous I have been for Shayna Baszler. Well, they pleasantly surprised me in this match. We get the match between Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, and Shayna Baszler chokes Nia Jax out right in the middle, beats her. I'm like, look at that. Wasn't expecting that. Well, then they continue to do stuff that I didn't expect. After the match, Shayna Baszler continues the attack and the assault on Nia Jax, works her over, gets her on the outside of the ring, takes apart the steel steps, and basically takes Nia Jax's arm and sticks it into the hole on the side of the steps, pinning her arm in there. And then she goes and she just lays a kick right into the elbow joint of Nia Jax. It looked really good. And Nia, of course, is, she kind of selling it okay. And I thought she sold the choke in the ring poorly. She was passed out, and the referee calls for the bell. But immediately when Shayna Baszler lets her go, Nia Jax kind of almost like rolls over and starts to get up a little bit. I'm like, you're supposed to be unconscious. So she did a shitty job of selling that. Then when she got her arm put in the stairs, I almost thought when she was selling that, it could have been better. I'm like, she could sell that better. Well, Shayna Baszler wasn't done, because then after that, she gets on top of the steps, pins Nia Jax's arm down, and that's when Nia Jax picks up the pace, and she starts selling this brilliantly. First of all, she's begging. She's begging Shayna Baszler not to do it. Come on, what are you doing? Don't do this to me. Shayna's doing a pretty good job of acting a little bit conflicted. Like, she wants to do it. She fucking hates her guts, but she's not sure if she's remorseful or not, and she's not even sure what she should do. She had this little conflict with herself during the first arm stomp in the steps, but now she's doing it again. She looks around, and then she decides just to stomp. And when she hits Nia Jax's arm, she did a great job of selling that. She was shrieking, screaming in pain like one might do if their arm just gets snapped into a million pieces. So the way she's selling it, the way she was shrieking, screaming, you would assume that in kayfabe, this is a broken arm we're talking about. I don't know if Nia Jax maybe needs a couple of weeks off, or she's going to be off TV for a little bit or whatever, but it feels like this might be a write-off kind of thing, and I'm really hoping they get separated in the draft. But You would think that Nia Jax might have to come back and get some revenge now. I don't know. But what I hope this translates into, and like I said, anything's possible, and I don't trust WWE at all, but I'm hoping what this translates into is a singles push for Shayna Baszler. You know, they've started it. Will they finish? Another thing they started was run a couple of Elias vignettes, and we haven't heard jack shit about that since they ran those a couple of weeks ago. So WWE tends to forget that they do stuff. So I'm hoping they don't forget that they have now set Shayna Baszler up possibly to matter again in the singles division, in the women's division as a singles wrestler, which is about time. She should have never been put in a tag team to begin with. So we'll see if she maybe bounces around in the draft. She could maybe go rekindle something with Becky. I don't know. But basically what she's been doing on Raw has been a whole pile of nothing for the better part of a year and a half now or whatever. So maybe it's a time for a change for her. I don't know. And we'll see down the road if things resume with her and Nia Jax. Is Nia Jax a babyface again? It's going to be really hard to make Nia Jax a babyface. There aren't too many fans that really care much about her, you know, in terms of just seeing her on TV every week. And, of course, she's got that reputation that everybody talks about. So I thought that whole segment was really well done, well executed, and I think Nia Jax sold the broken arm kind of pretty well at the end. And you know, it gave me hope that Shayna Baszler might not get released after all, and they might actually start doing something with this girl because she's awesome. So we'll see where they go with that in the future. Making sure everything's okay in the chat. We still got excellent connection. Okay. Sorry about those technical difficulties earlier on. Before I get into the next match, Mango Salsa 90, thank you for the $5. Hey, Greg, how do you feel about AEW starting vax mandates for attendees? And are you all waxed and I am waxed and vaxxed, man. Yeah, I have no problem with going to a show and them requiring you to be vaccinated. You know, it's not your rights, it's terms of service. If you want to go do this, you have to do that, you know. So I have no issue with it at all. It would make me feel somewhat safer if I knew everybody was vaccinated, but I'm in the restaurant business and I have to be around a lot of people all the time. So I got vaccinated as soon as I possibly could because I know I'm surrounded by a lot of people who are and aren't. So if you can go, and I was at SummerSlam, who knows, God knows what the percentage was of vaccinated attendees at that show. So yeah, I have no issue with that. And you don't have to get the vaccine. Don't get it, but you ain't going to a show then if they're going to require that. So just decide what's the most important to you. Your bullshit invisible rights that don't exist the way you think they do, or common sense, courtesy, keeping people safe, and trying to get a hold on this pandemic. It's up to you. Free country. Free country. After the Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax deal, we get a tag team match between two pretty goddamn good tag teams here. One is newly formed. One is kind of a reluctant pairing, and that's Ali and Mansoor taking on the team of Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. So Garza has reappeared. He's been largely invisible, doing some main event work, I believe. But other than that, I haven't seen much of him in a while. And Garza and Carrillo are related, but they've also been feuding last time they were on TV together. So now they have decided to put their differences aside and work together and form a team. Great. Here's the problem. I just don't trust WWE to make these guys a good team. Humberto Carrillo and Garza versus Ali and Mansoor was a great little tag team match that was about 8 minutes long. I thought it was fantastic. They nailed Ali with the most amazing kick. I think it was Garza who hit him right in the face with just a crazy drop kick, knocked him right out cold. Humberto Carrillo pins Ali for the win. And if they make these guys an actual team and start building your tag team division, these two guys can be a great addition because they're both teams with super athletic wrestlers that they weren't doing anything else. So much like a lot of the greatest teams in history, sometimes you take two guys who aren't doing a whole lot, stick them together, and you make magic. So not that Garza and Humberto Carrillo will ever be put in a position to where they can get over like the New Age Outlaws did, but you know, it could be a decent use for them. You give them a name, you give them, you know, some matching ring attire, give them some matches under their belt, and not stupid matches like we see with the Lucha House Party every week, but good competitive tag team matches. Watch AEW and just look at their tag team division and take notes as to what they do and how they run it. This company's got two tag team divisions and they don't know what the fuck to do. So if you're adding teams here with good wrestlers, great. Just please follow through with it and just don't put them in throwaway, meaningless bullshit matches that mean nothing every single week. Build them up, have them going on a winning streak, have Garza and Humberto Carrillo not lose a match until mid-November or something, or they go undefeated for the next 2 months, and then they'll say, hey, pay attention to us. I think we've earned a tag team title match by now, and maybe they get one against Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, and I think that match would be pretty good, as long as they lose. But I like the team. I think the two of them together are going to be good, just like I like Ali and Mansoor. I'm fearful of what WWE does with them, and if they really take them seriously, and if they really do truly care about making their tag team division better, because you got two teams here that'll definitely do that. But from here, it's just up to WWE. The talent can do it. It's up to WWE to care enough to feature them, push them, give them wins, that sort of thing. Build issues, build championship contenders, all that. None of that stuff should be too overly hard, but it is for WWE. Weird segment up next. Nice segment, but weird. We get Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley coming out to the stage first. Now, they got a tag team title match up next against Natalya and Tamina, but first they're coming to the stage to basically do a spot for Connor's Cure. And they announced some more charitable stuff for the Connor's Cure Foundation. Everybody remembers that little kid who was just an absolute joy, and just such a great kid, and hilarious and funny. And he was a special young fella, that's for sure. And if he's looking down on any wrestling shows this week, I think we all know which one he's going to be looking at, because his boy is going to be in the main event on Wednesday. But WWE has always done really well in his name, in terms of the foundation and all of that for pediatric cancer and whatnot. And basically, Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH are out there just to discuss this and mention a couple of things about the foundation. But Rhea Ripley is struggling, and it doesn't seem like she's struggling like in a botchy way. You could see Nikki was feeding her lines to her. Like, she sat there. There's just these long, dramatic, awkward pauses. And I'm like, oh, God, Rhea forgot what she's supposed to say. And she might have. But I also think that there was just a lot of emotion behind her eyes. So she might have, this might be hit close to home for her. Maybe she has a friend or a family member or somebody that she knows, that deals with this, a parent of a sick kid or whatever. So maybe it's something that's important to her or special to her. And she really seemed to struggle through that whole thing. And Nikki kind of had to take the reins and help them get through it. And in the end, Nikki ASH dedicates their upcoming tag team match to Connor and his name and whatnot. So I think we go to commercial, we come back, and we've got Ripley and Nikki versus Tamina and Natalya. And as soon as the bell rang, I put on Twitter, I said, I feel a title change here. Are you going to dedicate a match to little Connor and not win it? Come on. So I was like, well, they kind of spoiled that. Maybe they're making assurances that Connor's going to stay in WWE and Connor isn't all elite now that Bryan is over there. But it was kind of cute that they dedicated the match to him, because I'm like, well, shit, they better win. If these two cannot beat Tamina and Natalya, that's going to be such a disappointment. And as soon as I saw Tamina and Natalya come out there, and I can't stand the way Natalya looks at the belt when she holds it up, and I'm like, please tell me these women are going to lose the titles, and they did. Rhea Ripley, Nikki ASH got the victory. I didn't even write down what the finish was. I forgot. Maybe it was a riptide to somebody, whatever. But they are your new women's tag team champions. And I guess I saw on Twitter that I guess Nikki ASH has now held the women's tag team titles more than anybody. She's a multi-time champion with multiple partners. So good for her. And we've got some babyface champions now. A lot of people pointed out that Shotzi and Tegan have beaten Tamina and Natalya apparently on SmackDown like 4 or 5 times. That doesn't mean Shotzi and Tegan are forgotten about. I mean, I know in WWE it can mean that. But you got to remember, when a team wins the titles, that doesn't mean another team can never win them again. So I think that Shotzi and Tegan, provided WWE keep them as a team, will get a run with the titles. There's not a whole lot of teams in WWE. So generally, if you're a tag team in the women's division, you're going to hold the titles. They're going to give it to everybody. Everybody's going to have a crack with it. So plus Rhea Ripley and Nikki ASH, I don't know, might be a more impressive team. So if Shotzi and Tegan, I think, can have better matches with Rhea and Nikki than they could Tamina and Natalya. That's just my opinion. So I don't even hate that Rhea and Nikki have won. That does mean they can now hop over to SmackDown, does it not? Can't they go over there and work now? So we'll get Ripley and Nikki ASH maybe over on Fox a little bit. And I think a lot of this, you can tell WWE might be kind of how like they did the Karrion Kross stuff on main event before they moved him up. I think they're testing how people look. So I think maybe another reason they gave the belts to Rhea and Nikki here is to see how they look on the SmackDown brand. They'll probably be there on Friday ahead of the draft so they can kind of get a look at them. Would they fit here? That sort of thing. So wouldn't be surprised at all. Would be fun to see Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch have a thing one day down the line. So we shall see. But we have brand new women's tag team champions. Good for them. After that, another pleasantly surprising segment. Like I said earlier, Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax, I was terrified was going to suck balls, and it was anything but. This was a segment that I thought was going to be the same thing. I basically had planned on not really even being in the room for this. It was Alexa's Playground with special guest Charlotte. The only thing that kind of kept me around is that I've really liked Charlotte's attitude and demeanor towards this whole thing, because she's not, and Shayna Baszler was a lot like this too, with Alexa Bliss, but they're not putting up with this weird bullshit that she's doing. They're not playing into this mind games and this silly-ass playground and this kooky-ass persona. They're not intimidated by it. They don't believe in this voodoo or these head games or anything like that, and they basically let Alexa know that, and Charlotte did that here. She comes out to the ring. She's all in red. She looks like a big stick of lipstick or something, and like I said, she starts cutting her promo, and immediately I'm like, oh, this isn't going to be very bad. This is going to be pretty good. She fears nothing. She fears nothing about Alexa Bliss or her persona. She's not at all, bothered or stumbled up by these head games or anything that Alexa Bliss, or mind games, anything that Alexa Bliss is trying to do. She runs down her craziness. She runs down her black lipstick. She says that this persona and this personality is just a desperate cry for help, and she's going to be the one to beat some sense into her and to beat the old Alexa Bliss out of her. She goes, that's the Alexa Bliss I want to talk to, the 5 Feet of Fury or whatever dumb nickname she went by back then, and really lights up Alexa Bliss something good on the mic. And I was like, oh my God, they just buried this character, which I'm not a huge fan of this character, particularly now that Bray Wyatt is not around, but I'm like, damn. Here I thought, I'm like, it's going to be tough for Alexa Bliss to come back from this. And she did. She really held her own against Charlotte on the mic. And she starts it out by saying, okay, we get it. You're the best, whatever. And talks about Charlotte's insecurities and says that you have your insecurities written all over your face because you have to come out here and constantly remind everybody how great you are and put down everybody else, and you're so insecure. And calls her out for all of that. And she goes, aren't you sick of just hearing yourself talk all the time? I really liked a lot of Alexa Bliss's response. And the fans at one point started wooing in the audience, and Charlotte pointed like, see how much they care about me or whatever. And Alexa Bliss said, that's not even yours. And then Charlotte, without even missing a beat, she goes, oh, honey, don't talk to me about originality. That was great shit. It almost felt like it was ad-libbed because the fans generally chant woo. They probably could have discussed this backstage and say, okay, they're probably going to chant woo, so point out that it's not mine. I suppose that conversation could have happened, but it felt like the way it all played out that it was a completely ad-libbed part of the promo, and it was really good. So that was just a good segment. You felt it. You felt the words in both, and I'm looking forward to what's going to happen at Extreme Rules. Now, eventually, they start fighting with each other. Charlotte gets the upper hand at first, beats down Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss is able to fight back and run off Charlotte. Charlotte retreats, little stare down, and these two are set for their big match on Sunday. Like I said, as of right now, no stipulation there, and I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of hoping we get a little program here out of these two. I don't want to see either one moved away from each other in the draft right now because based on the strength of this promo, I think you can go beyond Extreme Rules with these two, and I wouldn't mind this just being a little program and have Alexa take the title and Charlotte win it back or whatever. They mentioned that tonight, that Charlotte's won the title the most, but she's also lost it the most. So if they want to tack another one onto her legacy here, they could have her drop it to Alexa and win it back. And I think, and you guys can help me and answer or correct me if I'm wrong, if you think this is the case, if Alexa Bliss is ever going to snap out of this persona and go back to being the old Alexa Bliss, it might be Charlotte the one to do it. Charlotte mentioned it. We haven't really heard too much about the old Alexa Bliss since she's been this way. We haven't seen anybody say, I want that Alexa Bliss back. I'm going to try to do that to you. Like, I'm going to beat you to death until you don't play these games anymore. And Charlotte, at the end of this program, however long it lasts, might actually be the person to do that. I wouldn't have any problem with that if Charlotte actually, even if you trade the titles. I mean, everything that they've invested in Alexa Bliss, part of me thinks like she kind of has to win the title, but maybe it's a short run. And right now, the best work that she's done, I think, so far has kind of been with Charlotte. Everything else has been a little bit goofy. We haven't loved everything we've seen with Lily and Charlie and Alexa and all that stuff, but Charlotte might be the right opponent for her. And tonight's promo battle and segment was great. Really good segment between both. Good work on the mic from both. And I actually enjoyed that. And I thought it was a segment that I would write one sentence about, barely pay attention to. And they had my attention the whole time. So props to Alexa, props to Charlotte. They did great. After that, we got a one-on-one match between Sheamus and Jeff Hardy. There's a stipulation here that if Jeff Hardy wins, he's then added to the United States title match currently booked right now for Extreme Rules between Damian Priest and Sheamus, and it becomes a triple threat. So Damian Priest joined Smith and company on commentary for this match, and of course he's the upstanding babyface that he is, putting over Jeff Hardy. Says that he has no problem if Jeff Hardy goes out there and earns himself a win and makes it a triple threat and joins the party. He doesn't care, even though that drastically reduces his chances. He's a little too babyface for me. I'm cool with Damian being a likable guy because he is one. However, even a babyface shouldn't want to, muddy the water too much in a championship match, especially when he's the champion going into it, because that just decreases your champion or your chances of winning. It's gone from 50% to Scott Steiner's favorite number. So we'll see what happens at Extreme Rules, but I'm not thinking we're going to get a title switch here. And if anything, Jeff Hardy's been put in that match to eat the pin, wouldn't you say? Most likely. We got a video vignette package kind of similar to the one we got last week with Karrion Kross. I do like these. I still think the helmet and the He-Man outfit is absolutely ridiculous on him. But these last two vignettes have done a little bit better of a job kind of pushing this dangerous villain type of persona that he has, and I liked it. Like I said, I don't know where the two Elias promos went, or the vignettes there. Maybe they're holding that off until the draft because they don't know what the fuck to do with him right now, which is possible. That makes me think that they are suspending the Elias vignettes until they do the draft, and then once all the dust settles and everybody is where they're going to be, then they'll decide where to put Elias. Unless they just draft him randomly, they just draft his name, but I feel like he might be a guy that could come in and just jump on whatever show he wants and maybe just kind of be forgotten about in the draft, which is why I think they might have stopped running the vignettes. So if they draft him in the draft and they mention his name in the draft, then it's really going to be confusing why they haven't continued the vignettes. But if they don't mention him at all, then that explains it. It's because they want to leave their options open to where they can put him wherever and they can just bring him back after the draft when the dust settles. I don't know, but we got another Karrion Kross one, and that's two, so we'll see if we end those now. We never hear from him again. We'll find out, but I'm really wondering where Elias is and what they're up to there. Anyway, that leaves us with the main event. Roman Reigns, Bobby Lashley, and Big E triple threat match set up in the opener. Big six-man that we had to start the show. This had a lot of star power in it. I mean, Big E's kind of a new star, just won the WWE title a week ago, but putting Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley, these versions of Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley in the ring together on Monday Night Raw is nothing that I'm going to complain about. I think that's pretty awesome, and this is a match that I think a lot of us are kind of ready to see as well. Roman's got a lot of money matches, man. So does Lashley. Roman's got a big one with Brock. We want to see Lashley and Brock one day. We want to see Lashley and Roman. Who knows what kind of a run Big E is going to have here. I'm hoping that it lasts. I'm assuming that we're going to get Big E and Lashley on Sunday, although we might not. Don't even know here. But to have this match in the main event of Raw, I thought was pretty awesome. And especially, it was a triple threat, so we knew we would get a winner. That was good. I thought for sure in the six-man match that they could schmoz it, but they didn't. We got a winner there, and we got a winner here. Good match between the two. Lots of heavy, beefy hitting here. Crowd was into it like they were earlier on. Really happy to see my North Carolina crowd coming out and reacting to a lot of shit on the show tonight. They were pretty hot for this match as well. We get near the finish. Bobby Lashley counters a spear with one of his own, and Big E onto Roman Reigns, that is, and Big E is able to stop the 3 count at the last minute. Lashley then gets up, attempts the Hurt Lock on Big E, but before he can quite get his fingers locked, Roman Reigns flies in with a Superman punch to Lashley. That was pretty good. Big E hits a spear to Roman Reigns through the ropes, that move that he likes to do. They crash to the outside of the ring. Big E then corners Roman in the ring by himself, and he picks him up. Now, the camera is kind of it's a hard cam shot, but you don't have the outside of the ring, so you can't see anything except those two and Paul Heyman on the outside, and he goes to pick up the big ending. I'm like, oh, shit. He's picking Roman up for the big ending here, and he's right in the middle of the ring. I hope Bobby Lashley is close by, because I don't think you should be kicking out of the big ending, and beating Roman on Raw in a random throw-together match would fucking shock me. So he hits him with the big ending. You hear the 1, the 2, and Lashley is in with a steel chair, and he just starts wearing out Big E with the chair. Triple threat rules, no disqualification, so he's able to do that. He winds up just really nailing Big E hard with the steel chair, and he turns around and eats a spear from Roman Reigns, and Roman pins Bobby Lashley. So I don't have a problem with the outcome. I'm a big Roman fan. You've pinned Lashley 2 Monday nights in a row now, which makes me think he's probably likely going to get the belt back. But, I don't know when. I don't know what their plan here is for Big E. I feel like I said in the last couple of podcasts that I think his reign might be a short one, unless they really just do want to change direction and hitch their trailer to a babyface, because up until now it's been Roman and Lashley, these 2 big heel personalities. Maybe you need a babyface in there to have some fun. But with Lashley taking 2 pins here, makes me think that he's going to be getting that title back real soon. And we'll see what happens in the draft. That's going to be very telling. Lashley could very well move over to SmackDown. Roman could move to Raw. We don't know where Brock's going to wind up. We don't know where the Demon is going to wind up. We don't know anything. So those questions should be answered soon. And, tonight, I think, in terms of what we saw in the main event, I think WWE doesn't even really truly know what their future is for any of these guys. They're just giving a shit, and they're sticking Band-Aids on stuff. Okay, we got to put together a good show tonight or the ratings are going to suck. So they'll just throw some stuff at us and then work out the details later. It kind of feels like that's what they're doing here. And I have no idea what now their plan for is specifically for Lashley and Big E. Roman, he's got his path lit for a couple of more weeks or maybe a month or so, because he's got Baszler at Extreme Rules and he's got Brock at Crown Jewel. After that, we've got Survivor Series. They talked about Survivor Series tonight in the Barclays Center. No word on yet if it's going to be Raw versus SmackDown like we're used to seeing, if we're going to get those big champion versus champion matches, or if they want to book up the pay-per-view for some better matchups. And I'd be fine with them abandoning the brand, what is it called? The fucking bragging rights bullshit between the brands, because all of those Survivor Series matches are usually really good. The IC versus the US title, the World versus the Universal, those are all really good matches, but a lot of times, they don't really follow much of the storyline they have going on. I'd rather just have some big-time matches booked for Survivor Series, and maybe book Survivor Series the way you used to do it back in the day, with maybe a traditional match or 2, and then some big title matches, some big singles matches. We'll see if The Rock comes back in for that. We don't know. But we'll have to keep our eye on that as to what WWE's plans might be for the show. And like I said, they've got a draft coming up here in a week, but yet, a lot of what they're doing is fueling some of these rumors that they might be doing away with the brand split entirely, now that they're just putting whoever they can on a show to help beef up these ratings. So I have a feel. Well, I guess tomorrow we'll know a lot. Tomorrow when the ratings comes out, we'll have a pretty good idea, I think, what WWE will plan to do. If they can pull a good rating, they're probably going to move Roman to Raw to help combat football for right now. That might piss Fox off, but you know what? Too bad. I really don't like that the networks can potentially dictate booking directions. I think that's a very dangerous thing to do. So if WWE can, it's not like they need Fox's permission. Is it okay if we move Roman Reigns? As if I was Vince, I'd be like, I am moving Roman Reigns. I'm going to do with my guys whatever I want. Fox and NBC aren't telling football teams who to cut and, who to start, so they shouldn't be doing that shit to WWE either. However, you would think if they did move Roman Reigns over to USA, that's going to piss Fox off. And what are they going to want in return? Lashley might not be big enough. Big E might not be big enough. So I think WWE moving Roman to Raw is extremely likely if the ratings are good tomorrow. But I don't know what to predict for the ratings. I'm not predicting 1.9 or 2. I don't think they're going to get there. They weren't getting there without football, so I don't know how they're going to get there, even with Roman. So, I think last week they drew a 1.6. I think they're going to do like a 1.75 tomorrow. I think they're going to stay right in that neighborhood. The highest I think they're going to get is a 1.8. I don't think they'll go higher than that, but I could be wrong. You never know. Maybe the strength of Big E's title win last week was enough to pull a big rating out tonight, so we'll see. But if they do 1.9, 2, 2.1, I don't think they're going to do that, but if they do, you can guarantee Roman Reigns will be on Monday Night Raw. And it might be a deal where WWE tells Fox, hey, we're taking Roman, but only for football season. We'll give him back to you at the beginning of the year, Rumble time, whenever, or shit, even before then, because the regular season wraps up way sooner than playoffs. So give us, there's already 2 weeks down, give us 14 more weeks, and you can have Roman back. But he's got to be on Raw at least for football season to help keep these ratings somewhat respectable so we don't lose to that other fucking company out there. So we'll see. Tomorrow's ratings will be a big deal. They will actually literally, I believe, have implications on what WWE does in the draft. Tomorrow's rating. It will. You watch. So we will see. We'll see. Let me knock out super chats that might be coming in since we lost our feed earlier on in the night. I'm sorry about that, by the way. We lost a big audience chunk when that happened as well. Do me a favor and smash the thumbs up button for me if you don't mind. Let me knock out a $5 super chat from Weed Whacking Willie. WWW. I like your name. I think WWE is getting ready for Bray to debut in AEW, so they are toying with the idea of getting Bliss back to normal so there isn't a connection. You are probably right about that, especially since Charlotte brought that up in the promo. I want the old Alexa Bliss back. And like I said earlier, Alexa needs to find somebody that's capable of bringing back the old persona, and Charlotte is probably the opponent to do it. She's the queen. She's the cornerstone of their entire women's division, and she's been the one so far that I've enjoyed the most in terms of them, and maybe Shayna Baszler, in terms of them battling with Alexa Bliss, because Shayna showed no fear. She wasn't putting up with that Lily shit, and Charlotte is doing the same thing, and I like that. So, if they go to Extreme Rules and Charlotte just beats Alexa Bliss and does what she said tonight, she's going to beat some sense back into her. Alexa Bliss then maybe returns as old Alexa Bliss and beats Charlotte for the title. I could see that happening, especially, yes, with Bray Wyatt going over to AEW, because you don't know what Bray Wyatt will do when he gets there. His Twitter profile has been changed, and it looks creepy, kind of like The Fiend, but it's some sort of like melted-looking horror mask. So he might be coming in there with a similar type of monster gimmick. I've always wanted him to go run the Dark Order, but the Dark Order's in turmoil right now. Bray might be the one to bring them together. And the Dark Order themselves have said that they don't want a new leader, but I think an exception can be made if you find the right leader. And I think Bray Wyatt, given his history with Brody Lee, is the absolute perfect and really the only choice to ever lead the Dark Order if they so choose to have a leader again. So if he comes in with a monster gimmick, then yeah, they might want to position Alexa Bliss away from that. But he might just come in as Wyndham Rotundo, second-generation star with the promo ability of Jake the Snake Roberts, and kind of go back to more like he was when he first debuted as the Bray Wyatt gimmick in terms of his promo style or whatnot. Or he could be a complete scary demon monster. We don't know. But you could be right about that. WWE, I'm sure, is keeping their eye on it. And if he does turn up over there, Alexa Bliss's entire character was spawned as a spin-off of what The Fiend was doing and the Funhouse shit. So there's always going to be that connection between the two of them. And I think that moving Alexa Bliss away from this is something they should probably do. So I think Charlotte's got a good chance of doing it, either at Extreme Rules or after the fact. We will see. Don't know if they'll do a return match at Crown Jewel. I don't think so. It's hard to get a women's match over there anyway, but with all the stuff they usually like to do with Alexa, I don't even know if you could do that over there. Who knows? JJ Leg, could I see Fox cutting the WWE deal? I don't think so. I think Fox is okay with the numbers WWE's pulling over there. And I don't know what kind of, I don't know what the stipulations are and the contractual stuff and, who can back out of a deal or if Fox can just flat out cancel them and stuff. But I'm sure WWE's got protections in there as well. I don't see either one. The funny thing is I don't see them cutting the deal is because I don't think WWE is any worse than they were when they made the deal. Like they saw what the programming WWE gives us. So did USA. Both of these networks were more than willing to give them $1 billion each for their programming. So they knew what they were getting, and what they're getting now is no different than what the WWE was giving us prior to signing these deals. So I think they're getting exactly what they fucking paid for, to be honest. So I don't see them cutting the deal. No, I don't. I think they'll keep them. Yeah, Heyman did hint about the Roman stuff. The storyline will have many different twists and turns, and the Brock Lesnar stuff is very intriguing because Heyman is kind of in contact with Brock. Roman is suspicious and weary and wants to be told and informed in advance of when and if Brock Lesnar might be around. That's why I think seeing Brock Lesnar at Extreme Rules is extremely likely, because he even asked Paul on Friday if he was going to be at Extreme Rules. And Heyman was like, well, I'm under the assumption that if he's scared of you, he's not going to be there. And he's like, I don't pay you to assume. I pay you to know in advance. So you need to tell me, what's going to happen there. So I think Roman getting attacked by Brock Lesnar, maybe even going so far as having the Demon, maybe have Roman beat, set him up for the coup de Gracie, and at the last minute out comes Brock, and maybe Brock attacks Baszler to protect the title, and then, F5's Roman a few times in the ring, and then we're set up for the Crown Jewel match. But one thing I don't want to do is see the Demon beat in such a predictable way like this, because Roman's going to be champ going into Crown Jewel. So is this really how you're going to defeat the Demon for the first time on the main roster, by basically letting us know ahead of time who's winning? That's why I think you should do a schmaz or something like that, or have some sort of a Brock run-in that can protect the Demon for down the road to give him another shot somewhere. And plus, you can move him back to Raw as well with Finn Balor. Although when he came back, he showed up on SmackDown, so I don't know where he'll land either. Who knows? They might revamp everything in the draft. James Ellsworth is here. What's up, man? Good to see you. Thanks for the $5. Your predictions for AEW Grand Slam. I guess I never did do predictions for that, did I? I guess I better do them right here. Omega versus Danielson, Baker versus Soho, Rhodes versus Black, FTR versus Sting and Darby, MJF versus Pillman Jr. I'm going to go MJF over Pillman Jr. I'm going to go FTR over Sting and Darby. I am. Baker is going to retain over Soho. Danielson and Omega, man. I feel like that. If it's WWE, I'm like, there's no way we're beating one of these guys. Are you going to beat Danielson on his first night? Are you going to beat your champion? It seems like that's a lose-lose scenario. So I think having some elite interference here, some Cole, some Bucks, and maybe some people backing up Danielson as well, maybe some Christians or whatnot, wouldn't mind a swerve in that. Omega and Danielson could be used as a way to not only give us a dream match, but then set up something else, potentially with Hangman Page, if they still plan on bringing him back and still keeping him near the top of the title, although the title hunt, although a lot has happened since he's been off TV. I wonder if he's going to lose that opportunity or not. I don't know, but it would be a great place for him to come back, especially if Danielson is being attacked by the Elite and he's being worked over. You need some help. Maybe Christian runs out. Maybe Lucha Express, Jurassic Express run out there. They get taken out, and the Elite has got all three of them laying there, and then Hangman's music hits. He comes out. All the baby faces fight off the Elite. They back up, and big stare down, and Hangman is now back, and he's pointing at Omega. I want you, motherfucker, full gear, or whatever, That is kind of what I think is going to happen in that main event. It's just a matter of if we get an actual real finish or not. If they do beat Danielson with some help from the Elite, or if Danielson catches a quick win over Omega, Hangman Page coming out, issuing the challenge officially for the next pay-per-view, I think would be great. We'll see. That's kind of what I think is going to happen, but I don't know. I don't know who to pick there. And then in terms of Cody Rhodes and Malachi Black, I want it to be Malachi Black, but I'm worried it's going to be Cody. So probably MJF, FTR, Cody, Britt, and some sort of a triumphant babyface victory party in the ring with Danielson and Hangman Page and shit like that. That's kind of what I think we're going to see on Wednesday, and I'm really interested to see the venue, how it looks on TV. It's going to be sold out or nearly sold out. They've done great ticket sales for that. It's going to be a great-looking crowd, and I'm fucking ready, man. Weed Whacking Willie, thank you for $2 more. Mella versus Liv is on the pay-per-view, but the WWE title isn't. Yeah, I don't know. They might not even do a title match at Extreme Rules. Yeah. I don't know. Well, I don't know. We'll have to see. Transferring Heat, we'll find out on Wednesday. If Adam Page does not return Wednesday in front of that crowd, he's over like Rover. So I don't know, newborn or no newborn, I'm going to be at that show if I'm him. I would want to be out there for that. The fans would pop so hard for him, especially if he came out and helped Bryan Danielson, and they stood together and fought off the Elite. That would be great shit, man. I'd be totally into it. I think we're going to see him. I think we're going to see him on Wednesday for sure. But in terms of what they do at Extreme Rules, I don't know. James Ellsworth, $5 more from you, dude. Thank you. Who do you think takes the title off of Roman as well as Big E? I feel like Big E is probably going to drop it to Lashley. But Roman, I don't know, man. I just don't know what they're going to do. And the thing is, it's hard to predict because they don't even know what they're going to do. They could very well give the title to Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel. He could squash Roman Reigns in 5 seconds. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could. But again, I'm not going to bring Brock Lesnar back, put him in the ring with Roman. Roman smashes him and beats him. You need to use Brock to the best of his value as well. And the last time he did have a wrestling match, he got beat pretty handily by Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania for the title. So I almost think Brock either needs to beat Roman for the title at Crown Jewel, or some sort of schmozzy shit needs to happen and Roman is able to keep the title. And that's why we could see a lot of these guys running in, like Lashley and whatnot. We got to remember Goldberg is still floating around out there. He wants revenge on Lashley. That match, I feel like, will happen at Crown Jewel, the return match there, and they might want to keep the title off of Lashley until that happens, so he can't lose it or whatnot. I don't know. Adam Page being Bray's first AEW feud, that would be good. A lot of Dark Order connections there. I'd be all into that. Imagine if Greg Gagne was on the plane ride from hell. He'd probably be behaving himself, just being in the corner playing pinochle with his dad or something. I don't think Greg Gagne would be causing too many problems on that flight, that's for sure. But anyway, that kind of does it for my notes. I want to thank you guys again for being here tonight. Sorry about our technical difficulties a little while ago. That was very strange. And I'm sure that's going to look very weird in the playback. I might try to go in and edit that out. Do me a favor and tap that thumbs up button on your way out the door, and make sure you are here Wednesday night. It's going to be so fun. We'll be live 10 minutes prior to Dynamite going live on air. We'll be up here live to do a watch along of it. It's going to be a blast. I am really, really ready for this Wednesday. I'm ready for the whole week, basically, because tonight's Raw was pretty good. We know Wednesday is going to be kick-ass. WWE will probably throw a pretty decent SmackDown on us on Friday, and Rampage is stacked up to be huge. And then, of course, we've got the pay-per-view on Sunday. So you'll be getting me Wednesday night for the watch-along. I'll be back up here on Saturday for the Winged Eagle podcast and Extreme Rules predictions. And then after that, it's not going to be until Monday night because I'm not going to be home for Extreme Rules. I actually have a family obligation that I can't get out of, and I'm going to miss a pay-per-view, a very rare pay-per-view miss. But based on the card, I'm probably not going to miss anything too earth-shattering. So I will be giving all of my thoughts on Extreme Rules the following night, 1 week from tonight, in the Raw review. So keep all that shit in mind for this week. You guys have a great rest of your night, and I will catch you on Wednesday night for Dynamite. Y'all be good.